Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Henry. When we had our dive at Deep Cove Marina, we had an interesting opportunity to kind of talk about how we make decisions during our dives. Often the lakes that we dive in don't require us to make a lot of decisions in water, meaning that there's not a lot of change in terrain or the depth is very consistent. However, at the Deep Cove Marina, this actually is not the case. At one end of the marina, it is 1,400 feet deep, and at the second finger of the marina, it is 160 feet deep. So we have to be really aware of what we're doing and make some smart choices as we're diving. So at 3.5 minutes into my dive, at 37 feet of water, I found a wheelbarrow. I had to make a decision in the sense of I still have a long way to go. I just started the dive. So I did not pick up this wheelbarrow and just kept going. Shortly after the wheelbarrow, I discovered this crab trap that is around 48 feet of water, and I wanted to see if I can get this out. When I tried to move it around, I managed to break the lid off and realized the rest of the trap is actually stuck very hard to the ocean floor. So I decided just to leave the trap where it is. Perhaps I'll get it on the way back, keeping in mind this is still very early in the dive. I decided to take the lid that I just broke off, and I think it was one side as well too. Decided to take that back to the wheelbarrow, knowing that the wheelbarrow is at 37 feet. I'll just tie this trap to the wheelbarrow, and perhaps on the way back I'll end up picking this up, but ended up not getting it on the way back. Sometimes seeing just the shiny edge of something in the water causes me to pause to check out what it is. As it turned out, this is a beautiful glass bottle. I was happy to get that. Unfortunately, it had a broken lip, so I wasn't able to keep it for a souvenir. Looking at the water here, it is so unusual for me to see pilings this deep. We're at 50 feet, and keeping in mind the furthest piling is at around 160 feet of water. Finding really unwieldy things in the water is actually not my favorite thing. So I didn't actually know this was an umbrella. I just knew that it was some kind of fabric with some metal rod sticking out of it. I don't particularly like finding these things because when I pick them up, they do cause a lot of disturbance in my visibility, as well as the pokey metal bits. I don't like handling those because I don't want to poke a hole in my glove or my dry suit, and they're also very difficult to shove into an onion bag for collection. And of course, the fabric will turn into an actual sail in the water, causing a lot of drag. This particular crab trap here, or prawn trap, whatever kind of trap it is, after just touching a little bit, I did realize that it's also completely stuck hard into the ocean floor. And not that it wasn't worth my effort getting it out, but it was just something that I decided to leave to come back for another day. Same thing with this rope here. As I'm pulling on it to see what it was attached to, I have no idea what's on the other end. Potentially it is some kind of anchor, cinder block, crab trap. Whatever it is buried deep inside the silt, and it was not worth my effort to dig through all of it to see what it was, considering this is my first time as a dive site, as well as I have to keep in mind that I'm deep in the water right now. Finally, I encounter something that's relatively small that I like to get out of the water. Here's a tire that probably belonged to a wheelbarrow. I knew that it would fit into my onion bag, so that was nice to pick up. So at this point of the dive, I'm about 16 minutes into my dive. I'm currently at about 50 feet of water. I have about 2,300 psi of gas left. So know that this is a really good time to start thinking about turning the dive. So what I did is I just dropped my onion bag with all the collected garbage so far, swam forward without it for a little while just to see what I can find. And as it turned out, I found a little swim ladder that fell off of a boat. A little wriggling, managed to free it from the sand. And then right in front of me is another little prawn trap, and this one here, I was hoping it wasn't stuck into the sand, and sure enough, just a little persuasion, and I was able to get it out. As I turned around with the two items that I had in my hand to go back to my trash collection that I left a little further back, I ran into Karen. This caused a little bit of concern for me because I was hoping her silt trail wasn't going to cover where I left my trash. And as it turned out, it was a little bit past where she was, so that was totally fine. And now just a matter of attaching all of the things to a lift bag, which I haven't deployed yet. So first I'm going to take my lanyard that I created to pick up tires, and it's a pretty easy tool to work with. Simply just going to cinch up the swim ladder and the prawn trap, deploy my lift bag, you can see here, clip that to it, and then clip my previous onion bag to that as well too. And then I got to put just a burp of air inside my lift bag to get that to float up a tiny bit. I don't want too much air because I don't want it to take off on me because I'm still swimming in water. And as I moved along, I encountered one more tire. So that's the third tire that I got. And again, tiny bit of persuasion, and out it comes. Now it's a matter of working through this giant silk cloud that I'm creating for myself, because I have to actually put this inside my bag, and through the sill is actually kind of difficult to do. So it just actually took me quite a few minutes to sort out the jungle of carabiners and lanyards and so on. Just me staring at it going, man, which one do I use? For any diver that says like narcosis doesn't affect me, they're full of shit, because in this particular case here, even somebody with as many dives as I have, working in conditions that I'm very comfortable in 30 feet of water, I can tell that I still have a little bit of delayed reaction in my decision process. So swimming back to the shoreline, I found myself encountering a crab trap. This one here I was actually really happy to recover, because if you look carefully, there's actually a crab stuck inside this trap. So there's one on the left that just ran away, there's one on the right, and there's still one inside that was actually too big to climb out of the holes, so it probably grew large inside and he just couldn't figure out how to get out. I was really hoping this one wasn't stuck in the ocean floor, and as it turned out, this one was not stuck nearly as bad as the other one. I was able to flip it over, remove a few starfish, release the crab, and then again working through the silk cloud and attach this to my lift bag with all the other stuff on it to get it back to the shore. After clipping it off to my lift bag, it's time to put one more burp of air inside my lift bag to get this thing unweighted off of the ocean floor so I can swim with it. Again, taking care not to put too much air in, because I don't want this thing to take off from me. I still want to swim with it all the way back to the shoreline. As I'm swimming along, I can tell that I'm getting closer to my starting point, because it's getting lighter in the water, and my computer is telling me that I'm in 35 feet of water, heading towards my desired depth of 15 to 20 feet of water to do my off-gassing safety stop. And I have around 1,300 psi of gas, which is precisely where I want to be at, because I would like to exit the dive with around 1,000 psi of gas if I can. So as I reach the 15-foot mark, now it's just a matter of swimming along to see what else I can find. And there really wasn't any garbage at between the 15 to 18 feet depth. So what I did is I spent that time actually just rescuing little sea stars off of the crab trap that I recovered. And that was kind of a fun thing to do, just have a shower of sea stars. And I spent about a minute doing this. Might as well kill some time while I'm doing my safety stop, which is a fun thing to do. And finally, the moment of truth, when I poked my head above the water, I wanted to see where I am in the water. Did I make it back to the point that I want to be? And I was only about 15 feet away from the point that I was trying to get to. So as I get closer and closer to the boat launch where I enter the water, the lift bag with the trash suspended below it becomes a problem for me because of the depth of water. So what I have to do is I have to basically bunny hop the trash towards the shoreline, and at some point when I get shallow enough, luckily there are other divers who can take over the trash and let me have an opportunity to take off my fins and mask and so on. So there we go. There is an inside look at some of the interesting decision process that I have to go through during a dive set that I've never been at before, that has some unique features to it. That was a really fun dive for me, and I look forward to coming back here. Thanks to my Patreon supporters, and we'll see you in the next one.